Good morning, everybody. We're about to dive right into it. South Dallas Jason Davis Jazz. What's going on? Welcome to A Cup of Coffee with Jason Davis, episode number 7. The date is May 31st, 2020. And I want to try to position my table. If you notice, we're doing a little different setup today, and that sunlight is kicking in. Tone that down. Tone that sun down a little bit. All right, that's a little bit. All right, what's up, everybody? Cup of coffee with Jason Davis. I want to try to give you a view of the outdoors, but it ain't happening today. I guess in this episode, you see the empty chairs back there. It look like I'm driving a bus, right? Toasted up. Some good coffee today. I also have me a little breakfast green juice here in a nice little mason jar as well. So if you see me grabbing that, got my coffee and my juice today. We're going to go through a couple of things today. I'd like to thank all my supporters and viewers out there. I have a couple of products that I want to talk about and a couple of places you can find out more about me. If you would like to support what I do in any way, you can Cash App me, Jason Davis Jazz. I want to make sure that my sound is right. I got some feedback from people saying that they couldn't hear me. So make sure you can hear me today. Put that microphone in there, give it a good look. But if you can't hear me, just say something over in the comments. This is my first cup of coffee in a minute. And the thing about these shows is that I don't drink coffee until I do these shows. I love coffee, but I don't drink it a lot. So when I'm ready for a cup of coffee, that's when I do a show. And that's pretty much the consistency of the shows is when I feel like a cup of coffee, I'm going to shoot a show. And I do that about, once every couple of weeks. I most likely won't be playing any music today, but you never know, right? Sunday morning at 7 o'clock, you can support what I do by Cash Apping Jason Davis Jazz, $ Jason Davis Jazz. And I have music under my name, Jason Davis Sr., on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, iTunes, all those places. I have a lot of music out there, and I'm making new music every day. So I got a lot of music out there for you to buy. Some cover tunes, some stuff, that's familiar to people that we have reworked. And also I have some original music. I got a lot of music that I'm trying to get to. The formats are in formats that I don't have devices to get this music. But I will be relaunching my old record label. Hopefully that music is still uploaded. We don't know if it's still on there. But I will be launching my old record label called the Dallas Track Factory. And I will be keeping my existing record label called the Dallas Jazz Collective. Also, like to announce here on A Cup of Coffee with Jason Davis that I will be partnering with Untouchable Entertainment to begin a music consulting firm. So Just some good juice. And obviously I am very thirsty. Might give me some water too. But we're gonna launch a music consultation firm for aspiring artists and aspiring music business professionals. I'll be handling the area of I won't say everything that we do because I don't want to give away the game and then all of a sudden everybody's starting a music consultation firm. But I'll be handling the music side, and my colleague, Mr. Anthony Landry, will be handling the other side of music executives and potential music business managers. So look out for that. I won't unleash the name now, but it's coming. All right, so we got our coffee. We got plenty stuff on the table to talk about. I'm a little closer today, and I don't have a saxophone in my hand because I want to work on this computer, and I hope it doesn't mess with the video. But I want to talk about a different list of various, and if the video starts to trip out, let me know. Do something over here in the comments because I'm going through tabs on my computer. But I want to dive right into, I want to read a list to you of, this might get tedious, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. A list of ethnic riots in the United States. Now, the list is so long. It starts in 1824 and goes all the way till 2020. Okay? So instead of, wasting a bunch of time right now trying to read all those, go check that out. One thing I want to do is I want to deal with the understanding that knowledge of the past is the key to the future. I mean, this show today is about that, and that's a art exhibit by a brother named Robert Colescott. And if you've never seen this art, I advise you go find out about Robert Colescott. He would paint in trilogy. And if you ever seen in my paintings where I'm painting like 3 paintings that say one thing, I got a couple, I should have brought a couple of them in here. But he would paint the picture of what people think is going on. He would paint a picture of what people are saying is going on. He would paint a picture of what's really going on. Something along those lines, as far as I can remember. But he has an exhibit that I had an opportunity to do an art talk on many years ago called "Knowledge of the Past is the Key to the Future," and that really shaped the way I see history. So I want to speak on that today. Knowledge of the past is the key to the future. Now, this is a book that I grew up reading in my house. This is a book that my mother, oh, it's my mother's handwriting too. My mother had this book for us to read, and it had pictures like this. And George Washington Carver, right? So I was learning about what they were teaching me at school, and then I was learning about what I was being taught at home. Daniel Hill Williams. I just did a acapella of We Wear the Mask, Paul Lawrence Dunbar and Miss Ida B. Wells. Right? So I grew up with this book. Wrote a bunch of book reports for Black History Month out of this book. W.B. Du Bois. Lot of good information. This. Black people picking cotton. Either sharecropping or slavery. Now, a lot of people don't like to call it slavery. They don't like to call the humans that were kidnapped slaves. They like to call them prisoners of war. A cup of coffee with Jason Davis. What's up, y'all? A lot of people like to define it for what it really is. A lot of people don't want to talk about it no more. Don't want to hear about it. Leave it alone. But remember what I said, knowledge of the past is the key to the future. When I was in 6th grade, my teacher told me, he said, if y'all don't get y'all education, y'all gonna be right back out there in them cotton fields. This was 1986, 87. He said, if y'all don't get y'all education, y'all gonna be right back out in them cotton fields. In the late 90s, a friend of mine, he told me, he said, look out there in Lancaster. He said, all the roads for all the fields and stuff, he said they still intact. Waiting on you. Right? We ride through the country, we ride through rural areas, we see it. You ride through West Texas, you're gonna see some cotton fields. You know? I done jumped out the car and went out there and got me a piece. And felt it and went, wow. This outer layer is rough. That's rough on your hands. And my mama told me, she said, it's a difference between picking cotton and pulling cotton. She said, you got to get it off the seed. That's picking. Pulling cotton, she said, you just getting it out the ground. Which leads us to the thought of Eli Whitney. The inventor. Now, one thing that I'm noticing is once something goes wrong, everybody start blaming each other. Everybody's got a solution and everybody blaming each other. And people get selfish. I've done it. People start thinking, man, why don't we look out for y'all? And when I needed some help, y'all didn't look out for me. But that's exactly what I call it, selfish. To care about, have compassion and consideration for the people around you and your view of those people deals with your understanding of humanity. And culture is not something that is supposed to be a conflict to anything. Culture is what it is. Like, take me. I'm a saxophone player. I'm blessed and fortunate enough to have done the same job for 36 years. For the past 36 years, I've done the same thing. Since I was 9 years old, I've done the same job. I wanted to work at Church's Chicken when I got a certain age, but I had gigs. I started gigging. People started saying, "Yeah, you can play with me." People like George Florence and Jeanette Brantley, Roger Boykin, people like Rodney Barnes start giving me gigs. People like Don Diego start walking away from clubs and saying, "Nah, I got somebody for you." Don Diego gave me his gig at least 5 times at different clubs all over Dallas. And a lot of the people that played those gigs with me are very famous right now. I had gigs, I just had them. I had the support of my community, Claude Johnson, W.A. Richardson. They got me into these places. I couldn't go in there and get my own gig. But what they did is they got me in the door with them. And they told me how to show up on time. They told me how to learn the songs and know the songs, how to conduct myself. And from that understanding, that's how I conduct myself now. And their sense of professionalism has been a way for me to eat and take care of my business and my responsibilities. So when you do a job, as long as I've done my job, there's nothing that doesn't speak success. You know, I'm 45 years old and I've done the same job for about 36 years. Can't beat that. So we're just beginning on this quest. Um, the riots that stick out to me in my history research are um, Slocum, Texas, Longview, Tulsa. I don't know if it's listed on this list, but there was one in Sherman, Texas. It may not be on here. The one at Texas Southern University in 1967. You know, and here's my point. If I'm going to get on stage, I'm going to play the saxophone. and I can play different eras. I can play like the 1930s and the 1920s, and I can play the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. I can play all those styles. It's a different sound on the saxophone for all those decades. And I can play all those styles. But I didn't just wake up one day and just go, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna start playing like Ben Webster, Coleman Hawkins, and Lester Young." I didn't just do that. I had to listen. I had to actually listen, look at it. I had to look. I guess you would call stop, look, and listen. Maybe that's a better way to approach this thing. Stop, look, and listen. That would be my motto when I would go do gigs. I would be playing with musicians that were so legendary, legendary musicians when I was a kid. Guys that had done everything, and they were never looking at me like, "Who is this little dude on stage? What do you think he's gonna do?" They would be welcoming, but they didn't want me getting in their way of their creative space either. It was like that. It's like you got your space on stage, you got your area, you man that area. This is a job, this is a profession. You man that area, you stay on the stage with your mindset. Don't go drifting off away from the band and leaving us because somebody in the audience is clapping and clapping you on and looking. Stay on the stage. Keep your mind up here on the music, you know. But so I would get on stage and I would stop and I'd look around and I say, "Oh man, that dude there he's one of the legends." I stop, I look, keep that eye contact going on with the musicians on stage. When they trying to give me little cues on the piano, they're telling me that this is the type turnaround we doing on this song. It's not boom, 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 but it's boom, 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 boom. Right? They play little stuff like that because they want that. They want that. They don't. They want that turnaround so that the music has a variety, and that the show has some kind of seasoning to it where everything don't end up sounding the same. Change keys, change tempos, change styles. A show. You know what I mean? And so I would stop, I would look, and I would listen. And end up writing a song called "Stop, Look, and Listen." Other things that I would do, and that I still do, is that I play the saxophone exactly like I want it to sound. Period. I play like I want to hear the saxophone, as if I'm a fan of the instrument, playing the instrument. I don't play the saxophone how I think somebody else want me to sound. I play exactly like I want to hear that horn. Third thing, no matter how I felt going to a gig, I'm going to play to the best of my ability. If I got a cold, if I stumped my toe, if I tripped and fell, if I got a ticket on the way to the gig, none of that mattered. I'm going to play top level all the way. Those three things are very important when you walk out your door every day. Every time you walk out of your door, you are at war. You are in a war like state. You got something that you need to have your mind focused on. Hey, anything could happen. Somebody could be driving bad, try to run me off the road. Somebody could do like this. You need to be aware, not defensive, not on, not offensive or defensive, but just understanding that yeah, this is real. When it comes to politics, from the time you exited the womb, everything about you and everything around you was political. So it's no point in going, oh, it's too political out here, man. I don't want to talk about no political stuff. We at the bar, we ain't gonna deal with politics. No, the size of your feet, the size of your hands, the color of your hair, the color of your eyes, your weight, your mom and dad, everything. That all that plays a factor in politics. From the time you're born, from the time you're here to the time you leave, there will be politics. Every time you walk out your door, you are in a war-like state. Be aware at all times. I'm relating my training in jazz and music to everything. I've been doing this for 36 years. This is what I do. My homeboy told me the other day, he said, man, here's the secret. He said, here's the secret to music and recording all these hits. He said, I open the door to the booth, I go in, I close it, I come back out, I close it back. Had a friend in Philadelphia named Charles Collins, one of the great drummers from the sounds of Philadelphia. Got to hang out and spend some time with him at his home. And I said, say, man, I had an itching question. I just had to ask him. Toasted up a cup of coffee with Jason Davis. This is a good one today, y'all. We just getting started. I told him, I say, Charles, man. I say, how y'all make all them hits, bro? You talking about the OJs, the Spinners, the Platters, everybody. All those great South Soul recordings, TSOP, McFadden and Whitehead, Mother, Father, Sister, Brother. All of them hits from Philly. Earl Young, Charles Collins. I said, how y'all make all them hits, man? He said, oh. He said, well, Jason. He said, when we walked in that studio every day, there were no prima donnas. Everybody was on the same page every time. We wanted to make a hit for that artist that day. So when anybody else put in that day, we put it on the table. We didn't knock down each other's ideas. He said, we didn't care how many gold records this guy had or how many awards this dude had. We put his word over another guy's word. He said, no, man, we were all on the same playing ground. He said, we checked our egos at the door. And that's exactly what that man told me. And him telling me that made me understand. In order to get those kind of results, that ego, that prima donna attitude, that being worried about what somebody else got that you don't have, that accentuating what you have that another person don't have, it can't be a part of the process. And so with that said, let's think about these riots. How many people out here that left their house that day knew that they were at war when they left out their door? How many people know about the history of riots in America, in South America, anywhere? Can you walk up to them and they understand the history of what they're doing? I promise you, the person that knows the history of the instrument that they're playing, the person that knows the history of the form of music that they're playing, is going to be more proficient than a person that does not know. Not saying that people can't just, be born and play music of certain styles. Of course you can. But there are little bitty nuances that, oh, you gotta study. You gotta practice. Even slavery itself back in the day, they considered it a practice. When you read about slavery, they say the practice of slavery was abolished and da da da. It was a practice. You see what I'm saying? So let's think about that. Okay. Now, I didn't get my information out of no books like that. Now I've studied books and I got books, the book right here. But you gotta talk to people. You gotta talk to them. And right now the name of the game is find the oldest person you can find and soak up the most information you can soak up. Had a situation where I played at a storytelling workshop, and they made us get together and pair up with a person of a different race, and we had to tell each other. Basically, we had to tell each other our story with our first interaction with racism, and I advise everybody to do that. Call a friend of a different race and say, man, what's your first experience with racism? Whether it was somebody doing it towards you or you were doing it towards somebody else and you didn't realize it. We got to share stories. I got friends, man, they shared their stories with me. And not even about racism, just about what they have done to try to be a part of the solution. See, that goes a long way with me. If you can tell me, hey, bro, I volunteered in your community, I sat in your community. I got a friend named Ernest who was living over at the elderly nursing home. And man, I used to go holler at him every day. Man, we sat down, man. I played dominoes with him. He teach me about this, and he taught me about the struggle, the culture. See, this is the thing we got to get up under somebody and try to learn. Internet school, it's a lot of good videos out there. But I met Dick Gregory. I played music for Dick Gregory, 1999, Tyler, Texas. Dick Gregory was in Tyler, Texas, and he didn't hold back. He wasn't playing around. First time I heard anybody speak on that level. Before that, I thought Dick Gregory was just a comedian. But he had a lot to say. Right? And he was happy to hear me play the saxophone, too. Had a very nice discussion. And there is no difference in what you see on the internet of a Dick Gregory, and there's no difference between him and person. He's the same person. Very authentic. And that's been my word for the past week, authenticity. When you can look at yourself and say, man, I struggle with being authentic, then you're making some kind of progress. Because it's about really, really, really being yourself. Because if you're looking at the internet and you're going, I'm looking at brother, what's the name? And he like this, and he crunk, and he talking about this. That's not authentic. That's not your real self. If you don't know who you are, it's hard to have, what Whitney Houston was saying is the greatest love about learning to love yourself. Right? So the history. I remember being down the club in Deep Ellum, talking to guys about the history of standing in this bar. And I said, man, you know, that building across the street, man, it was the first building built by a black man in Dallas. And these dudes did not want to hear what I was saying. They got mad at me. Man, why you come with all that talk? We don't want to hear no history lesson right now, bro. I was just looking like, man. Bro, you don't want to hear about William Sidney Pittman? Man, I don't want to hear about that right now, dog. That's where we got issues, y'all. Because that's where the divide is. That's where we start acting like we the first people to go through this. That's why I'm talking about this. That's why I'm on here right now. This did not start with you. You have not started anything. This is, you know, when you at a meeting that said, you got any old business, any new business? This is old business. This ain't new business. It's a blueprint out there for this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying you can't freestyle. I love to free. I freestyle. I freestyle rap and I freestyle on instruments. I improvise. Ain't nothing wrong with it. It's a part of what I do. I make up stuff. As a jazz musician, I get paid to breathe through an instrument. So I'm a professional breather. So when it come down to taking breaths and all that, I'm a professional breather. And I'll get paid to make up stuff. A great musician told me that one day. He's like, bro, I was like, man, this dude making up stuff. He's like, he get paid to make up stuff. Now's a good time to squash your beef with people. Build your karma. Because that whole idea of not including people in this and blackballing people on this and ignoring the greatness of this, that's so foul. It's so old. Because the cream's going to rise to the top. When my homeboy Leon say, truth and innocence shall prevail. So we're at that moment, y'all. We're at that moment of really understanding and knowing that, hey, the gig is up. Got to come correct. You know? Just be ready. Stay ready. A lot of that is knowledge of the past is the key to the future. You know, now if we doing what we doing just for the present, now, man, I'm doing what I got to do right now for me, bro. I got to do what I got to do. If you're just doing that, then you're not worried about the future. And you're not worried about knowledge of the past. You just worried about right now. I ain't hearing nothing. This went on whoop-de-whoop. Whoop-de-whoop, whoop-de-whoop right now. You know. And I would say check out the history of people that thought like that too. You know? But when you talk about, hey, man, I'm doing this for my family. I got youngins, and they got to live in this world, and I got seeds, and I got offspring, whatever you call them. I got kids, I got this. Yeah. You better be thinking about the future, player. Not just the whoop-de-whoop right now. You better be thinking about the past. Because if you don't know your history, then somebody gonna walk up to you and they gonna say, man, y'all ain't like them black folks from the 60s, man. They did this. And you gotta be smart enough to know. No, they didn't. Them people was down at a church putting their money in together, going, when Miss Parks get on this bus, this man over here gonna make sure that don't nobody hurt her. He gonna knock somebody out. This man over here gonna be the one that's gonna be the witness that's gonna document this. She gonna sit in this seat. We gonna practice this. Y'all nodding? Okay. We see how they act. This is what we gonna do. When she get on the bus next week, this what's gonna happen. Here go the money to bail her out. You just get on that bus and you know that you're gonna be down there this long. We're gonna come, this money right here, this pile of money gonna come get you out. See, if you know your history, then can't nobody walk up you and tell you, man, y'all better go down there and do this. Because they would down there putting them hands on them. Come on. You know? And so, back in the day, everybody wasn't trying to lead. Everybody wasn't trying to quarterback. I was a little kid playing throw up tackling football in the fields and stuff. In the different, church fields and schoolyard fields. We jump the fence, go play football. We want a big open field we can play football in. Everybody in the neighborhood like, yeah, we're going to put two teams together. How many people we count? Everybody kind of looking like, oh, yeah, he got that on. Everybody got something to offer. We know who can catch the best. We know who can throw the best. We know who the fastest. We know who's going to break through the line. We know who ain't going to catch the ball. We know who not to throw it to. And we always said the biggest person that it was unfair for them to even play was going to play what you call all-time quarterback. Somebody big brother, he going to play quarterback for this side, and he going to play quarterback for this side. He going to make sure that, boom, it's a good game. But y'all know and I know him, everybody want a quarterback. Everybody can't quarterback. Problem number one, everybody want a quarterback. Everybody can't quarterback. Somebody got to block. Somebody got to run a sweep, or somebody got to run out, play tight end. Somebody got to go long. Hail Mary. Cup of coffee with Jason Davis. Boy, that coffee getting cold. These are some of the things I wanted to touch on today. It's Sunday morning. I advise you go look up the history of ethnic riots worldwide, specifically ones that deal with where you from, where you're at. I find interest in all of them, from 1824 in America to 2020 in America. There's a lot here. There's a lot here, too much to touch on right now. But I advise you look up stuff like the UN revives a call for slavery colonialism payouts. I advise you go look at that. Slavery in America on thehistory.com. Look up the story of the last surviving person off of a slave ship from 1930 in his interview. Yeah, look that up. You can see pictures of him in his home where he instead of wallpaper, he got newspaper. He got a wood burning thing. Man, telling you all about it. Mm-hmm. I advise you look up the history of policing in the United States. Eastern Kentucky University, Police Studies Online, by Dr. Gary Potter. I advise you go look at these things and study and educate yourself. I'm a jazz musician. I appear on over 10 million units of music sold worldwide, from gospel, soul, jazz, rap, hip hop, smooth jazz, children's literacy music, national monuments, holiday seasonal music. You can find me on Instagram, South Dallas Jason, Dallas Jazz Collective. You can donate, cash at me, Jason Davis Jazz. I have CDs available. I got more music that's coming your way. A lot of music. Got about 20 tracks out to different artists in my city, and they're writing to them right now. Um, I'd like to thank my viewer for viewing this live. This will be archived. Like, share, subscribe, and take care of yourself. Take care of the people around you. Try to love somebody. And don't just be doing stuff because it popped in your head.